Julia, I have Ted Ryman on from Cape Town. He's the first one on today.
John Emmett.
John Emmett's on as well from, I think he's in Weymouth.
Yeah,
he's in Weymouth at the club. There's Ivan Grekov, super. He's looking forward to this guest appearance by our Fozy Andrew Pindar OBE DL. Peter Taylor in New York. Rick Bannerow in Connecticut, where it's spring-like, he says. Springy, anyway. Pedro Foiling Sailor is on live from Sydney. Robert Fry in Auckland. Hello, Robert. Say hi to Leonard when you see him, or talk to him next for us, please. Graham Sweeney. We have a slide from Graham. He's in Yale, Scotland. Alistair Murray, down under, the president of the Australian Sailing Federation in Metone. As we get show 705 across the starting line. Welcome. I want to click my fingers to this.
Yes. It's good.
Phil Laffin in Davis Island, Florida. Alan Long in Ohio. Thanks again to the 12-meter Yacht Club, the 12-meter class, ITMA, International 12-meter Association, they are formerly known as. Gary Jobson provided us with this video. Tuesday the 23rd, Julia, show number 705.
Good number.
Andrew Pindar standing by in Scarborough, beautiful Scarborough in North Yorkshire in England. Gordon Smith standing by in damp and chilly Denmark. Jody Shields, where it's 600 in Sydney. Happy hump day. It's Wednesday down there. Vice Commodore Claire Harrington, cheers from sunny Greenwich, Connecticut, just north and east of New York City. And wonderful group we have on here already today. Julia, I trust you are well.
Indeed.
Any hot tips?
It's going to be a great day.
Great show as well.
Yeah.
Monica Diaz is on. She's joining us presumably from Spain, home of the America's Cup. Steve Atkins in Connecticut. He says it's still too cold to plant in Connecticut. He's in Madison Beach. Past Commodore of the Madison Beach Club in Connecticut. We are live from Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club in what's kind of become an overcast and a bit of a rainy day, hasn't it?
Yep. It's cooling down.
It is cooling down. It's bloody cold, Julia. Warm it up here, would you please? Bloody cold.
Yes, got to do that.
In San Francisco. Welcome, everybody, and thank you to a lot of you who've contributed again to this show on what is the start of Passover. Last night was the start of Passover, and those of you who are celebrating it, we want to wish you a very happy Passover. This is an illustration from 1907 of that particularly good, well, I don't know if it was a magic trick or what it was, but the parting, Julia?
Parting of the seas.
Of the Red Sea, right?
Yeah.
As the Israelis escaped from Egypt, and that's mostly what Passover celebrates. And those of you celebrating this lithograph from Providence, Rhode Island, the old Providence Lithograph Company. It's rainy in Spain too, Monica says. I hope it is nice wherever in the world you are. If you're enjoying Passover, if you celebrated Earth Day yesterday. And Ted Ryman says he's drinking Guinness tonight in honor of Andrew Pindar.
Yes.
Let's bring Andrew in, Julia, shall we? Bring him in right away.
There he is.
Welcome, Andrew. Welcome back to the show.
Hello, Julia. Hello, Tom. And hello, everybody.
Nice to have you with us. And John Emmett is confirming that today is St. George's Day. We're going to get into that. Slay a Dragon Day, as you might say, in the UK. Andrew is standing by in Scarborough at his home. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm in my office and looking forward to joining everybody this evening.
And not only in Yorkshire, but I guess it's North Yorkshire, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It used to be the North Riding of Yorkshire and now North Yorkshire, the biggest county in Britain.
Is it? Yeah.
Monica Diaz says you like wine. Is that true?
Like wine?
She says Andrew likes wine.
Well, who doesn't like wine?
Good idea.
Good one. Gordon Smith, St. George's Day celebrated the world over, he is saying. And Julie Ahrens is checking in. She's Jewish, and she's saying, hello, Fozy. It's warmer in Cleveland and sunny, and she's no doubt celebrating Passover. I hope you all have a happy Passover. Andrew, just before we move on, tell us about Yorkshire pudding. How did a pudding get named after Yorkshire?
Well, it's a poor man's food. So if you've got some milk and you've got some eggs, you make a batter, and from that you can make Yorkshire pudding. So it's just a batter mix, really. And it was a way of people who had no money, could only afford a tiny bit of meat and a bit of gravy. They could extend their food by having Yorkshire pudding, which allowed them to have the flavour of meat, except filling themselves up in the process.
You know what we call that here in the States that extends the meal for those of us who grew up poor? Hamburger helper. You pour different things into hamburger, onions and oatmeal. And my mother used to do that, throw an egg in there or two and mix it all up, and then maybe put it over rice. And
Yeah, the combination of eggs and milk and flour is magic, though, because it makes popovers and Dutch babies and Yorkshire pudding and the whole stuff.
Fritz Mueller is saying, yeah, helper, hamburger helper. This is now Culinary Illustrated. Culinary. Do you say culinary or culinary, Andrew?
I think that's a culinary.
Culinary. Do you say culinary or culinary, Julia?
Culinary. Yeah.
Okay, where did I get culinary? Okay, happy Passover. Enough of that. We are celebrating Andrew's return to the show. He hasn't been on in a while, and we're delighted to have him back to talk about this, the foiling organization, of which he is a key part, and this first World Foiling Congress, which just took place in Genoa. And we'll get to that in a minute. And he's going to fill us in after we go through our normal preliminaries here on the show. And Julia, what are we celebrating? And Andrew, for that matter, what are we celebrating today?
I know.
What is it? You were married to the German, the late
yes.
great Conrad, the German ship captain.
Yes, the German Beer Day.
It is indeed German Beer Day. Do you know why?
No.
Well, we'll tell you in this day in history, but in the meantime, April 23rd is German Beer Day, celebrating the malted beverage. With rich taste and thick foam, there is a myriad of types of German beers, from Pilsner to Keller beers, Weiss beer, Weizenbier to Marzen. Beer lovers know that the overwhelming majority of finest beers come from Germany. Is that true?
Absolutely.
Home of the oldest brewery in the world.
What absolute Tommy Rock.
Is it? Say again, Andrew. Is that not true?
No.
Where's the best beer?
Well, Yorkshire, but Britain generally, and Yorkshire specifically.
I didn't know that. Is Yorkshire the headquarters of beer making and brewing in the UK?
Yeah, it's the water here, which the water you use to brew beer is known in brewing as the liquor, and Yorkshire, North Yorkshire in particular, has some of the best water to be able to brew beer. And of course, we've got barley, hops, and malt, and all the important ingredients, and also we have an enormous thirst.
Yeah. Claire Harrington, the Vice Commodore, the esteemed Vice Commodore of New York, she says this is bubble tea day. She was looking at the mugs, I guess, on that shot. And Gordon Smith, April Fest, well, maybe. And Bannero is saying every day is beer day.
Right.
And he's back on, Fritz Mueller's back on extending hamburger extender. And Monica Diaz, it's book day too. It's also, guys, it's also National, or in fact, World Creator Day.
Oh, good.
Celebrating this recent phenomenon of exactly what we're doing by becoming, YouTube. This is the day that the first video was posted to YouTube back in 2000
really?
something, 5.
Yeah.
And now, there's something like 1 billion uploads a day to you. 1 billion?
I know.
Uploads a day to YouTube. It's some huge number. I may be exaggerating a bit, but it's big. Emmett says he loves Anstill's Brewery. Where's that? Where's that, Andrew?
The Amstel is a river in Amsterdam.
And Reinheitsgebot. Yeah, Fritz Mueller knows that it's this day in history. We'll get to that in a moment. Alan Long's upset they stopped importing Beck's beer Beck's Beer Dark in the U.S. Gordon Smith, another Brit, he's of course living in Denmark, a regular now, and a couple times on the show as a Fozy. Burton, in the south of Derby, UK, used to be the largest brewing town in the world and is the home of IPA, amongst other delights. Can you confirm that as well, Andrew?
Well, reluctantly, I must admit that Burton, which is famous for Burton Pale Ale, which is one of the beers that Gordon will know well, but Burton actually, to my embarrassment, Tetley's Bitter, which was Tetley's brewery used to be in Leeds on a place called Brewery Wharf, and when that brewery was bought out by one of the mega brewers, they moved the brewing to Burton-on-Trent, and that's sort of Gordon's territory as opposed to mine. So doesn't taste quite as good. It's okay.
You got to go back. Julia reminds us to go back and look at the comments. There's a ton of clever comments on here already. Holtzman is saying the darker the beer, the better.
I agree with him.
Regardless, it is German Beer Day. And, during the Middle Ages, just wrapping this little cartoon up here, during the Middle Ages, German beer became a staple widely available throughout Europe, while beer consumption has decreased in Germany. Exports abroad have grown, with Italy, China, and the U.S. being the biggest buyers. Now, gang, there's some other things today. There is... What is this? This is a graphic for
English language.
English Language Day. Well done, Julia. And it's also, you had this show in the UK, Andrew, way back was it in the 1990s, a television show, or in the 2000s? That was the astronaut day. What was the name of that show that has the telephone booth, the police call booth that you all?
Doctor Who.
What was it called?
Or Doctor Who? You think
Doctor Who, that's it. Yeah. Doctor Who. And I had never heard the expression that you used to describe the call booth, the police call booth, that Doctor Who used to go in and out of to do his time travels. Is that right?
Yeah, the telephone. Well,
what's the word?
My mind's gone blank.
TARDIS or
TARDIS. Well, the TARDIS was a specific to Doctor Who. It wasn't the name that we use for to describe a police telephone box.
Okay, because I'd never heard of the word TARDIS, and several of the Brits on here and before told me what a TARDIS was.
But that was filmed in Cardiff. The BBC have a production studio in Cardiff, and when we used to have the Extreme Sailing series in Cardiff Bay, on what was all the locked-in area there, we actually were sailing with the grandstand of the Extreme Sailing series right next to the studio. I think I'll be able to send you in due course one or two little photographs of that. Right next to where we were running the Extreme Sailing series was the BBC studio where Doctor Who was made.
They're reminding us. They're all chiming in now. Chris Sexley, Gordon Smith. Oh, it's a TARDIS. The telephone box Emmett is saying time and relative to dimension and space. Not for man. Look at all the comments.
Wow.
We're going to break 100 comments in the first 20 minutes of the show. So it's English Language Day, and then Andrew, what is this representative of?
Well, slaying of a dragon.
Indeed, it's Slay a Dragon Day because it is St. George's Day. And what was the connection of St. George's and a dragon?
He slew it.
Well, I should know the answer to that. And having just come back from, we were talking about being in Genoa last week, but of course the Genoa is famous for its patron saint being the same as ours, being San Giorgio. So San Giorgio is in Genoa and St. George in Britain, and that's why we have the white background and the red cross.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You learn something new on this show every day.
Yep.
Vice Commodore Harrington knew it was St. George Day and was a dragon slayer. Well, he did. He apparently, from what I read, Andrew, that the dragon was threatening the town, and St. George had gone off to march with the Roman army, and he was a Christian. and famously so. And the Romans tolerated him because he was such a good warrior and such a good member of the army. And he came back, and then the myth is, at least, that he protected the town
Of
I don't remember. What was the town, Andrew?
Oh,
Now we're
let's-
in History Illustrated.
I say it was Genoa for the time being, but Jerusalem, so I don't know where it was.
Something. He protected the town by
I'm
slaying the
going to
dragon.
Google whilst I'm live on air, can I? It's the
It's not only that, celebrating Brits everywhere, and especially Andrew, we've got one other thing for you today. It's officially worldwide.
English muffin.
What you Brits call muffins and what we call the English muffin. I love English, especially sourdough English muffins. All righty, enough of all that. We also are celebrating all of our FOSI as we do every show, because it's without the FOSI we wouldn't have a studio, we wouldn't have a show. And starting with Julia is the Commodore of the Yacht Club here and the landlady at the Beach Street Yacht Club, who allows us to have Studio B for this show. All of you, thanks for your support. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated if you want to join the many folks who give us $1 or $2 or $5 or $6 or $8 a month. By the way, guess who's, speaking of $8 a month, which is the cost of an online subscription to the world's greatest yachting magazine, Seahorse.
Yes.
You know who's here, Andrew? I ran into him at the YC the other night. He was with Kayard and Doug Smith and a couple others having dinner. Andrew Hurst is here.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, and he said, oh, I'd love to come on your show. And I said, oh, I got somebody way more important. I got Pindar on the show today, already scheduled. So we'll get you on another time when by Skype or otherwise. But he's here in town. We had a delightful talk at the club the other night. It wasn't a long talk, but we did carry on. So that's among many of the things being celebrated today, Julia and Andrew. Thank you all for joining us on this show, when we're going to get Andrew to tell us about the first World Foiling Congress in Genova, that took place last week. It was quite an event, apparently. But we want to update you first on the Ficker Cup that took place. We talked quite a bit about that on last Friday's show because it was starting Friday. It ran over the weekend. And congratulations to Scott Dixon, who won the, what? Who won the Long Beach Grand Prix? What? Julia, knock on the door there, the graphics department there in the control room. Tell them they put up the wrong slide.
Different.
Okay, I make light of this. Scott Dixon, who's also a Kiwi, his name is spelled with an X instead of a D-I-C-K-S-O-N. Scott Dixon won the Long Beach Grand Prix. He's one of our most successful now American, he's a Kiwi originally, but here in the States, race car drivers in the Indy circuit, and he won this past weekend also in Long Beach. It was a bit of a coincidence.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Long Beach Grand Prix. And at the same time, in the Ficker Cup, which was taking place Friday through Sunday, which is the World Tour Grade 2 qualifier event for Con Cup, which starts tomorrow. For 2024, the top 3 skippers from Ficker Cup will receive the final 3 invites to the 2024 Congressional Cup, also hosted later this week by Long Beach Yacht Club. And another Scott Dixon won that one. Here he is finishing just ahead in the final race. He won all 3 of the finals, beating Megan from New Zealand. And we'll talk about her at some length. She's a terrific sailor, and she was second to Scotty Dixon. So 2 Kiwis, although Scotty now is probably considered more of an American. He's been here forever. He's won 14 of the last 24 Ficker Cups.
That's amazing.
And it is astonishing. He's a great sailor. He, of course, is the more famous brother of Chris Dixon. And their very famous dad, Roy Dixon, who's a dear old friend of many of ours. It's really the patriarch in many respects of yacht racing in New Zealand. And we've known him forever as well. And, of course, I don't know how many cups with Chris Dixon, 2 or 3 anyway. But Scotty Dixon, as he's better known here, he won his 14th Ficker Cup over the weekend. Here he is. Now, I kid you not, guys. You see the guy in the middle, Julia?
Yeah.
His name is also, believe it or not, Scott Dixon.
Really?
He is the Commodore, the current Commodore of Long Beach Yacht Club. So there were 3 Scott Dixons, a Scott Dixon and a Scotty Dixon, CK, and then Commodore Scott Dixon, spelled the same as the race car driver, all in the news this past weekend. as Commodore Dixon is giving the cup to winner Scotty Dixon. It was a terrific event. A lot of breeze, especially on Sunday for the finals. There's Scotty and his crew, who I hope they win Con Cup. I don't believe he's ever won Con Cup, and I hope they've got a good shot at it this year. This is Megan Thompson, her team, who got through to the finals and then lost 3-0 to Scotty. Not a huge surprise, but she sailed a beautiful series. And I don't have any audio for this, but this is a nice clip that I was able to track down of the start of their final race. These are the Catalina 38s, right off the pier where Congressional Cup has been run. Yeah, Steve Flam is part of that crew, Steve Gruber, with Scotty Dixon. And here is the right-of-way boat, Scott Dixon's team in red coming in on starboard tack, dials Megan up, head to wind in more or less the middle of the starting line, right off the Memorial Pier, which is where Congressional Cup has been held now for the last dozen or so, maybe longer, years. And this is the waters in which the 2028 Olympics will be held as well. This is the third and final race. Dicko is up. I'm not sure they ever called Scotty Dicko like we call Chris Dixon, a term of endearment if ever there was one. And the dial up. Now watch the superb boat handling of both teams. You'd think that Dixon's going to slide into, as the Windward Yacht's going to slide into Megan. No. They trimmed just enough, just at the right moment to get bow forward. She has to back the jib to bear away here, try to escape the control of Scotty Dixon and co. And he tacks as she bears away. She, of course, on the right. Good breeze. You're looking to the north in this shot now. The pier is actually the coast at this part of SoCal, Southern California, runs more or less east-west, or at least northeast-southwest. And now Scotty's in the controlling position astern as they go through. I think this is a 4-minute pre-start sequence. He's the yellow boat. As those of you who are familiar with match racing will know, one boat wears a yellow flag as the yacht identifying flag. The other boat you see has a blue flag on the backstay, and that's the flags that the race committee and the umpires use if they're going to signal that yacht. A, you've got a penalty, or B, you're over the line early, or C, when you cross the line to win the race, that respective colored flag will go up. And it also indicates which end of the starting line you enter from. You change it. Yellow if you're coming in from the race committee end, and blue if you're coming in from the pin end. As they do a little maneuvering here, I won't run this entire video, which is, I don't know, I guess it's 5 minutes long. And it's nice because the spectators are right there on the pier. And John Emmett, when you're there for the Olympics in 4 years' time, they will have redone this area. John Sangmeister, our Fozy, has been quite involved in that. John Shadden, former Olympian medalist in the 470 class, also a leading light in SoCal, as are a lot of other folks and friends at Long Beach Yacht Club, Alamitos Bay Yacht Club, and down the coast in Newport Beach, all part of this lead up to the Olympics, as they're now starting to head back toward the starting line, which is upwind and to the right of this shot. Megan is chasing. And in breeze, you normally want to be leading back if it's light air, but you don't necessarily want to be leading back in heavier air. There's pretty good breeze here. It's probably 12, 13 knots. You see the committee boats disappear. You see the pin in the upper right corner there. That's the leeward end of the starting line. Sorry, we don't know how much time is left, but you get the idea. Well, the P flag is still up, so there's more than a minute. I think there's probably something like 2 minutes to the start. Probably the timer in the lower left corner is close. When you see the P flag go down, or is it down? I guess it is down. That's numeral pennant 3. And now Scotty's got her locked out. She is to windward. She's got to keep clear. That is Megan Thompson. He's going to bear away. There is the start. The flag just came down, so that was the start. He's still pinching up to hold her up. No rush to, in fact, there could be a penalty here because do they touch? The protest flag goes up from Scott Dixon, his team. as I think she has fallen into, and there is a blue flag from the umpires indicating that the blue boat, which is Megan Thompson, now owes a penalty. The umpire's trying to get into position to see if there's another incident. Did they have another touch? Now she's at danger of hitting the committee boat. Is she going to slide into the committee boat as she tries to tack away? But now, yep, she's been penalized again, maybe for another contact back when Scotty Dixon bore away. Maybe that was either too close or there was a contact there. She now owes 2 penalties. You see the 2 blue flags, which means she has to take one of them immediately to exonerate the first penalty. And you'll see her do her 270 loop here, no doubt, in a moment. And off to the races, so to speak, with a huge lead off the starting line, is the eventual winner, Scotty Dixon. As he tacks to cover, she does her 270. One of those blue flags will come down. But she now still owes a penalty and has a, 10, 12 boat length disadvantage as they go up the first leg. Okay, that I didn't see that whole video. It was more exciting than I thought, Julia.
Yeah, it was good.
Okay, look at Pindar smiling. I just want to confirm that you're in Yorkshire, North Yorkshire.
I'm in North Yorkshire, the home of beer, the home of St. George, the home of...
John Emmett is saying the race is over. Masterful start, Gordon Smith is saying. Now, do you know why we are saying, everybody, do you know why we're saying Yorkshire every chance we get? Including that whole little unplanned segment about Yorkshire pudding. One hears that the drinking word today, they sent an email around, Andrew, you probably know this, you're probably on the email, well, except they wouldn't have included you today. They send around a word that I may be prone to use, like the non-sailing CEO, some other rant. Every time we use that, look at him. Emmett is saying, my poor liver. Ding, 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 so Bannerone knows. Well, a little birdie told me that the word today is Yorkshire. Okay. Look at all those look at all it. Drink.
Oh,
ding, ding, ding. Somebody explained, I think that was probably a rhetorical question, but somebody explained in the comments what a 270 is. It's a tack downwind or it's a jibe upwind. And David James saying that was fun to watch, good boat handling in boats that are not very maneuverable. And one of the things we did at the Congressional Cup in 1988 when we first started doing umpiring was we devised the penalty. At first we thought it would be a jib drop or a spinnaker drop. Then we thought it would be a 360, and that we wanted the penalty to be enough that it put you behind, but not so much that you're
lose momentum.
Well, that you're out of the race. Yeah, that you had no chance of recovering. Exactly, and back.
But 270 is important around here as well, in Yorkshire.
A 270 is? Let me ask why.
Because Tom and Julia, and Graham Sweeney will remember this. One of our pirate radio stations. A lot of people have seen the film A Boat That Rocks. But anyway, we had a pirate radio station off the coast here called Radio 270. There was also Radio Caroline, and then people would also listen to Radio Luxembourg. But the one that was off the coast, just off Scarborough in Yorkshire, was Radio 270. And as a young kid, we would listen with the transistor radio underneath the pillow to this music that you weren't allowed to listen to on the BBC.
Exactly. I remember a movie. In fact, Emmett's talking about there being a film, and I think it was Caroline. I don't remember now for sure, but there was a movie.
It's called The Ship That Rocked. The Ship That Rocked.
Ship That Rocked. And I didn't know about it, except my daughter Meg was very fond of that movie and watched it any number of times.
I've never seen that.
Well, we'll have
Bill Nighy was one of the lead actors in it.
We'll have to have a watch party. The Boat That Rocked. Emmett's saying, confirming that was the name. Okay, let's get back now. Let's get back to sailing and to the yachting event. Scott Dixon and Megan Thompson in the finals. Scotty winning 3-0 over Megan. Terrific sailors both. In the petit finale, Long Beach Yacht Club's Dave Hood got through to the petit finale. Those are the losers of the semifinals. And Cole Tapper, our good friend now from Australia, who will be sailing in Gulf Cup again this year, and possibly along with Jeffrey Peterson and one or two others, is the probably leading candidate to win this year, Julia.
Yep.
Gulf Cup. Here's the final results at Ficker Cup. Scotty Dixon and Co. on first, Megan second, Cole third, Dave Hood fourth, Peter Wickwire from Canada. And so he did better than a lot of people thought he would. Don't know him, don't know his match racing CV, but apparently he's pretty okay. Aurelien, right, Julia? Piroth from France was sixth. Nicole Briot from up here in San Francisco, seventh. And Celia Willison, also from New Zealand, with Claire Costanzo sailing with her. She had a terrific crew as well. She was eighth. So bravo Zulu to Scotty and Co. His team filling out, as many of you will know his team. That's Scotty far left. And then from left to right, you've got Eric Berzins, Garrett Brown, Steve Flam, Steve in the middle, whose dad, Barney Flam's a long time. I think he's passed away now. But Steve Flam taking up where his dad left off is a big supporter of yacht racing in SoCal and at particular Long Beach Yacht Club. Zachary Hanna, and Shane Young, winners all of the 2024 Ficker Cup. Yeah, Clark, now I remember. Clark's telling us that movie was released in the U.S. as Pirate Radio. And maybe if you, is that the trailer, Clark? If you can find the trailer on YouTube, I might even quick play on here since everybody wants to talk about it. Let's move on here now. What's going on the rest of this week? It starts formally tomorrow. They're practicing today, and I think they have the skipper's dinner tonight or tomorrow night, which famously each of the skippers gets up and gives an after-dinner talk. And it's been one of the, it's actually led to a lot of other similar convivial, is that the right word, Julia? Convivial talks, things in the sport where the skippers get up and make fun of each other, gentle roasting, and it's good fun. I remember Harold Cudmore as the best after-dinner speaker. Ted Turner was great, not quite as good as Harold Cudmore, but yeah, there's just nobody better. Andrew, would you agree with that Cudmore is just a superb speaker and particularly after dinner speaker?
Yeah, he's just a great raconteur, isn't he? And he can hold a room, can that man? And in fact, I was with him at a dinner in London a week ago Friday at the Royal Thames. And again, you know, he just was, he sensed he was there. Everyone wants to listen to his stories. He's just such a funny man.
Exactly. Well, I remember that from my long stint as a judge and then umpire at Long Beach Yacht Club's esteemed, the granddaddy of them all, these match racing events, the Leamington Cup, which has come and gone, and I think it's back again, and other major match racing events, and of course now the World Match Racing Tour. James Pleasance, we hope, is going to be our guest on Friday from Long Beach. He is there, but this is an esteemed group of sailors: Chris Poole, Eric Monin, Yanni Berenson from the U.S., Switzerland, and Sweden, respectively. Chris Poole went through undefeated last year. Jeppe Borsch, Rocco Attili from Italia, Jeppe, of course, from Denmark, Nick E.J., Egnott Johnson from New Zealand, another good friend, Ian Williams, who's a good friend of yours, Andrew, from Great Britain, Gavin Brady, kind of the grandfather almost at this point. I've done a couple cups with Gavin, and senior citizen of this crowd. He could win it. He's won it a few times. Dave Hood from Long Beach, Megan Thompson, we talked about her from New Zealand, Cole Tapper, the youngster from Australia, and of course, Scotty Dixon also from Long Beach, and we shall see if Scotty this time around has a shot. Tell us about Ian Williams and how many times he has won major match racing events, Andrew, with your support.
Well, I was very lucky to sponsor Ian for, I think, something like 16 years. So over that time, when I first met him, he was just transitioning, deciding whether he was going to remain a lawyer or become a professional sailor. We Peter Holmberg, in fact, it was, and Mike Sanderson, who introduced me to Ian in St. Moritz up on the lake, and I agreed to sponsor Ian. And the first event was at St. Francis. I think you probably were there with me. That was one of the first times we met, Tom.
Yes.
2004, something like that. Anyway, Ian went on to sail for us for 16 years and won 16 world six world championships in the process. Quite an incredible sailor. Very much of the same era as Ben Ainsley, and it's one of those things, I think, with Giles Scott suffered from it a bit when you're up against somebody like Ben. Unless you get slightly ahead, then you're always going to be slightly behind. And Ian had to decide what discipline to go forward with in sailing, and he picked match racing, and hardly anybody will ever be better than Ian. So an incredible talent, and I think he's currently, besides coming out to Long Beach, he is. I think he's doing some coaching for talking about Ben for the Ineos Britannia team. I think that his analytical skills are second to none, and so I think that you'll see that playing out somewhere within this edition of the America's Cup.
Okay, thank you for that. And yes, Bill Canfield saying maybe he should be at the top of the list. And we're having a bit of an echo from you, Andrew. I'm going to try to quickly go in and see if I can fix that. Bear with us. A couple of you have suggested that the echo from Andrew is a bit much. So let me see if I can quickly fix that. I don't know.
Do you need me to dial back in?
No, I don't think so. Let me try something here and see if I can just, it may fix the audio, but it may result in an AV sync issue. Andrew, see if that's better. Give us a...
Well, can I just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yeah, and tell me, everybody, if that's better. But we've tried a little bit different setting on...
Yeah, it's better.
Is it? Is that what people are saying? Felix Weidling is here. Hearing Andrew twice is a bonus, so there was a bit of an echo. We'll keep working on that. So there was no echo at the beginning, possibly worse now. Okay.
Oh, really?
I'm not saying, how can it be worse?
Oh, it's worse. Let's play a video here, and then, it's better. Is it better now? Everybody's saying worse, better? At my end here, my analysis is that, count to 5 for us, Andrew.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, St. Francis.
Okay, it's better for me. Have him position. Nah, Joe Cool, we're beyond that. I think it is worse. Okay, let me try one more thing, and it might be worse, Gordon Smith says.
Mm-hmm. I think so. The second.
Okay. Andrew, try that.
How is that sounding now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Now the AV sync is not so good. One more time, count to 5 for us.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, see, the AV sync's gone to hell. Is that audio better? Now the audio's good. Okay, we're going to go with bad AV sync, but better audio.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. That's always better. Everybody says audio's more important than video. Okay, well, I won't bore you with the technicality of what we just did. But it starts tomorrow, and here is a touch of a promo.
Overlap. Blue flag. Live here in Long Beach, California.
The Congressional Cup. They all turn into farmers. Hey? It's hard to believe. It is truly hard to believe that it's been all this time since the '88 Congressional Cup, the first time that we umpired. You can see in the middle of that shot is Peter Gilmore, who won that event. And babyface Peter Gilmore, and a few others are a little more babyface.
I think.
Who are you talking about, Julia?
You.
Babyface. Well, that was bloody hell, 36 years ago when we umpired and we figured out what the penalty should be. The late, great Cy Gillette, whose face is covered a little bit by that orange upper left there in the Crimson Blaze, a terrific sailor and judge and umpire from Hawaii and a great guy. He's long gone now. But as David James is saying, Long Beach Yacht Club does such a good job with these sorts of events, as did President Canfield earlier on. And bravo Zulu to them for letting us try umpiring. It was a bit of you see the guy next to Bob Fisher, the two guys in the middle row, Bob Fisher on the right and Chuck Kober on the left. And Fisher really helped push this through. And Chuck Kober, who was then the president, once or twice removed from USYRU, he helped push this thing through too. And together with some other great sailors, Robbie Haynes, there's Brian Willis up there on the top, Joran Peterson in the lower left, who went on to be president of World Sailing, all helped push umpiring through. And of course today, all the Olympic medal races and all the professional racing, team racing, and virtually every match racing event is umpired thanks to that crew and Long Beach Yacht Club who let us do it. As I said, we hope to have our good friend and repeat offender. He's been on the show a number of times, James Pleasance. He's in Long Beach. We hope to have him on the show as our guest on Friday. Gruber saying, replying to John Emmett, I don't know if it's still the case, but when I was doing a lot of match race tour in the 90s and noughts, the skippers were encouraged to yell by the organizers. Peter Ives was a fantastic guy. Yeah, he's passed away as well. Bill Canfield, thank you for that. Let's get to John Emmett's report. Another Brit. This show is full of Brits, Julia. And we've John Emmett's Coach's Corner, and from his favorite yacht club in Weymouth.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Welcome to Coaching Corner. I'm here at Castle Cove Sailing Club. Now, the idea was to take you for a little walk and a talk in the evening. Now we have a bit more daylight around the club, but actually there's not that much daylight today, but still enough that we can go for some evening racing. The season just started maybe a week ago. This space was all filled with yachts which are now in the water, and you can see the boat park is gradually filling up as people bring their boats back. In fact, one of the big problems we have, and I guess it's a nice problem, is with the number of members, is finding enough space. And this is why we have all these racks here, so we can maybe get 2-3 boats in the same space. Personally, I have a double trailer here, so I can keep 2 Ilkas there. And obviously there's Water Lily, which is the Wasp Lily uses, and there may be another boat joining the fleet this year, we shall see. But yeah, it's such a lovely place to sail. Membership and indeed boat park spaces at a premium. So the big regatta going on at Yare, which is sort of the second event of the European season, is the last chance regatta. So I wanted to make a big shout out for the Emerging Nations programme sailors and to wish them the very, very best of luck. So in terms of Olympic qualification, actually in the classes there was a spot which is reserved especially for those emerging nations, and this works really well because one of the ways is to grow the sport is to get sailing in as many countries as we can. So there's going to be some battles within battles, whereas people are not only trying to finish at the front of the fleet, but actually to finish the top emerging nation programme country. And you know, obviously there's some differences there. Some countries will have more funding or less funding, or it's easier for them to sail, but they're in that bracket of countries we really need to help to get on the water. And as I said, I'm a huge fan of the squad system. You'll see there's been some very difficult choices recently in terms of Olympic selection, and I say now my heart goes out to anybody who's had a near miss, as it were, and also many congratulations to those people who have made selection. It's not too much to say. It's a life-changing experience. And actually for the country, you know, you think about somewhere with like Cyprus or whatever, when that country gets maybe its first or only medal from sailing, that's such a game changer for bringing sport into the country. I recently went to Hong Kong and they had an Olympic gold medal in windsurfing, and it's amazing what that managed to do for the country as a whole and water sports as a whole. I probably already mentioned when Lily first took up sailing, I think her parents just thought it was windsurfing. So the emerging nations, very close to my heart, and of course for them especially, the budget is an issue where some of the richer countries, you know, the problem is there's more sailors than places in a squad. So I think the grass always looks greener wherever you are. But I'm just looking forward to doing a bit of sailing myself, trying to balance maintenance and hopefully improving the grade 2 tear, my supraspinatus. And I will talk a little bit about that road to recovery and about the suggestions I can make, because actually nobody likes to take time off and rest. The other thing I'm going to be talking about, that was good timing, as a couple of cadets walk past, that's obviously the other future of the sport. But this is my boat. You may notice the sail number, if I can get it into frame. Thought very hard, long and hard about that. That's the sail number we use for the photo shoot for the Ilka book, because I wanted it to really stand out and something to think about. And sooner or later, there will be 250,000 Ilkas out there. So that's really helping people get into the sport by making sailing accessible. Remember, sailing, it's all sorts. Anything for me where you use the wind to propel your boat, that's sailing. And I have an awful lot of crossover. I remember in Lanzarote, the girls put me under a lot of pressure to finish in good time with the Ilka training sessions so that they could go winging. And actually I know a lot of the kite foilers it came from the previous Ilka squad. In fact, most of them now are, the lads are well over 90 kilos, so possibly too big for an Ilka. But I'd better go and get a wetsuit on and get on the water. Hopefully join you on the show. Questions, as always, very, very welcome.
John Emmett.
Yes.
Get to the front of the fleet with John Emmett, sailing his regular report here, which we are deeply appreciative.
Yeah.
Of our co-host, do you have any questions or comments about all that?
I'm just wondering why John hasn't moved to Yorkshire.
He hasn't moved to Yorkshire. Well, you better recruit him up there. John Emmett, thank you very much for your report as usual. Very interesting, much appreciated. And let's carry on to the Olympics here for a second, because this regatta is going on in a year. 2 regattas, actually.
Day 2 at the Semaine Olympique Française. We're here with the windsurfing class where we have 7 spots for men and 8 spots for women. On the men's class, and before starting day 2, we have the USA in first place, an emerging nation program athlete from Korea, and Norway in 3rd place. On the women's side, we have an emerging nation program athlete from Estonia leading. In 2nd place, an ANP athlete, and in 3rd place, following very closely, Czech Republic.
We had a pretty long day today. We started already 11 o'clock first race, and this wind has been crazy the whole day, very up and down and shifty. So for me it's been going really well. I had a good first day and today I had a win, so I'm leading, and for the end of the week I hope to qualify.
I'm super happy so far. I want to just keep this momentum going. It's nice to be leading right now, but really my goal is just to be in the top 3 going into the final day. Having a separate regatta for the unqualified nations means we can still race, we can still have that environment without having to worry about qualified nations kind of getting in the way.
Okay, so you get the gist there. There are actually 2 regattas going on. One for the remaining qualifying spots for which countries are still trying to qualify to get to the Olympics in Marseille, and then the main Olympic classes regatta.
Day 3 at the Semaine Olympique Française. Very tricky day compared to yesterday because we don't know what the wind is going to do today.
You can get absolutely anything in here. The sailors pride themselves on their adaptability, and that's what they're going to need to be today, adaptable.
The first race were quite patchy. I think the wind wasn't established completely, so there were a lot of lulls and pressure, but it became more and more consistent, and we had two very, very nice and consistent races.
Obviously, we aim for the ticket for the Olympics, and I think we are in quite a good position for that now.
For us, we were going in today on third, quite a good standing. Today we had a rough one. A lot of mistakes cost us a lot. I think everyone's just pushing hard. So like, the stress is there, so mistakes are happening for everyone, I think. But it's all about keeping it as simple as possible, actually.
And now this video that came out just before we went to air, again, Day 3 highlights.
La journée d'hier a été compliquée pour les coureurs présents à cette 55e édition de la SOF. Le vent, le froid étaient présents sur l'ensemble du plan d'eau. Voyons voir comment ce matin, avec des conditions météo différentes, ils s'adaptent.
C'est super important, c'est une régate qui est 3 mois avant les Jeux Olympiques, donc important de montrer qu'on est là, aussi de travailler et de prendre des billes pour préparer les Jeux Olympiques. Mon objectif sur les prochains jours, c'est de travailler les départs, travailler la tactique, et j'ai pas d'objectif de résultat, clairement je veux juste travailler pour être au meilleur pour les prochains mois et faire de mon mieux pour préparer la suite.
Aujourd'hui, c'était une journée difficile, le vent il était assez aléatoire, il a augmenté dans la journée. J'ai eu beaucoup de mal, j'ai pris une pénalité sur le premier départ, un 720 qui m'a fait partir dernier, et sur la deuxième manche, j'ai réussi à tirer une manche correcte. En tout cas, le rond, le niveau est très élevé à l'approche des Jeux et ça va être une longue semaine.
Those are the countries that have qualified that are in their last chance, not the last chance regatta. This is just the normally air week. Quite an event, don't you think, Andrew?
Yeah, it's great. I've been to that regatta a few times, and you know, that French sailing week is great. It's a good venue. There's always a nice welcome, often a decent breeze. The accommodation around there is pretty affordable at this time of year. You know, it's reasonably accessible to Marseille for flying in and out of, and yeah, it's got a lot going for it.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, let's get from there now to your hometown and to your report on the first World Foiling Congress. And as I showed you in the quick tech check we did, let me first run a video that I found online that's had over 350,000 views on YouTube from a young videographer from your hometown of Scarborough in Yorkshire. Yorkshire.
Hang on.
Yorkshire. The drinking code word for the day. But have a look at this. And then this hotel, I had no idea it was there in Scarborough, but you've been telling us what a great town this is, what a beautiful place. And from this video, it would appear you're absolutely spot on. Have a look.
Videos are on my two favourite areas, the North York Moors and here on the Yorkshire coast. Today I'm back on my doorstep here in Scarborough to take a look at one of, if not the, most iconic building in the town. This is a hotel with a very unique history like no other in the UK, and I'm going to try and weave my way through that and take a little look inside it now. This is the story of the Grand Hotel.
Look at that, beautiful. It's just fabulous, that whole area. No wonder Andrew likes it so much.
I'll start back before this building existed. The earliest building I can find any suggestion of on the site of the hotel is a St Nicholas Church. It then became home to a hospital, I believe in the 1700s and into the 1800s. At some point, this was either changed or demolished and replaced with a new building known as Wood's Lodgings. The most well-known story of that era is that the famous author Anne Bronte died in Wood's Lodgings in 1849 whilst visiting Scarborough. She was a regular visitor to the town and she is buried less than half a mile from here next to the castle. Now for some background on the construction of this colossal building. Work began in 1863 and its original name was Cliff Hotel after this location of St Nicholas Cliff. After 2 years, the Scarborough Cliff Hotel Company, who were the group of local businessmen who had saw the potential in building a lavish hotel in this up-and-coming seaside town, ran out of money and had to sell it. They refused permission for the new owners to keep the same name, so the Grand Hotel Limited was formed. At the time of its opening in 1867, it was the largest hotel and the largest brick structure of any kind in Europe. The hotel's yellow or tawny coloured brickwork was made locally, about 10 miles down the coast in Hunmanby. Sadly, 3 men lost their lives during its construction. When I first moved here, I took a boat ride out from the harbour around the South Bay, and the first thing that was pointed out to us was how this building is designed around the theme of time. The 4 towers to represent the seasons, 12 floors for the months of the year, 52 chimneys for the weeks, and 365 bedrooms for the days. The hotel itself is in the shape of a V, widely believed to be in honour of Queen Victoria. However, that appears to have been clever PR. The more likely scenario is if they had built the hotel as a single building, then the cliff wouldn't have been able to stand the weight on it. So by building it as a V shape, it was simply good engineering, helping balance the weight out. The hotel's peak was arguably during Victorian times, when wealthy holidaymakers made up its clientele. As Scarborough was a spa town, apparently the building's original baths included an extra pair of taps, so the guests could
Okay, Andrew.
see.
So I don't think we need to run this whole video, but I had no idea about this hotel. Apparently it was bombed heavily during the Second War, and Hitler wanted to make that his headquarters after he won the war and took over England. Is that true?
Yeah, I think it was actually damaged in the First World War. We were bombarded by the German fleet off the coast here. Hartlepool and Scarborough in particular were hit. So we were liked by Julia's late husband's countrymen for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, the North Sea, as we call it, out off the coast of Scarborough in Yorkshire and the Grand Hotel, it was known until 1914 as the German Ocean.
The German Ocean?
Yeah, and if you find out old maps of Britain and the North, what is now the North Sea, it was known as the German Ocean.
Amazing.
Look at that, beautiful.
And you can see, and for those of you who, when I talk teasingly, but in fact, we could have had the America's Cup in the South Bay there. We've got 2 bays. You see the headland at the end there?
Yes.
Which is the site of a Roman signal station and a Norman keep. The other side of that is the North Bay. And this is the South Bay you're looking at here, where Thorhild Scarthy, the Viking, came. There you go. That's the bombardment. That's I think Wycombe Street in Scarborough. But a lot of the town was hit during both wars. In the First World War by the naval bombardment, and the Second World War by the bombers. Who we were an easy target because we didn't have the same air defences as you have in Hull or north of us in Middlesbrough and Seaside. And also we had a lot of army soldiers and other service personnel were billeted in Scarborough. So I think they thought that we were a reasonably fair target.
Beautiful. Okay, well, that's a quick look around your hometown. We've looked around your home before and even your liquor cabinet, but we've never seen this, at least I haven't.
No.
And there's people's commenting in here, it's beautiful, whatever you call it, and people have been there and on and on and on. It's just a nice look to see where our Fosey in the immediate surrounds in one of the garden spots of the world, obviously.
Yeah, well, it's a lovely town, and if anybody wants to come and visit, I do a special job in being a tour guide, a very proud tour guide of the town, and to the south, to the north of us, to Whitby, and the North Yorkshire Moors behind us. So it's a beautiful part of the world.
Is that part of your responsibility formally as the deputy lieutenant?
No,
the DL?
The deputy lieutenant it's part of the way that the country was set up. Is part of the monarchy. So each county has a Lord Lieutenant who reports to the monarch, and each of the Lord Lieutenants then has a set of deputies in each of the counties.
Julia, we have an invitation.
Oh, yes.
I think.
Yes.
Maybe you're invited, I'm not.
Well, I'm ready. Yeah.
Speaking of Whitby, the town to your north by 12 miles or so?
Yeah.
This shot was sent in by a Fosey. I think he took this photo. Tell us what this is.
Well, that would be Captain James Cook. Captain James Cook was, of course, from Yorkshire. Oh, sorry, hang on, just a moment. And so Captain Cook, James Cook, was from just outside Middlesbrough, 40 miles to the north of where I am. And he came from a place called Great Ayton, and he came down to the whaling town of Whitby. Whitby was one of the most important ports in the country. The whaling ships went to the Arctic Circle for 150 years, but as part of that, and also the coal ships, the collier vessels that would go up to the northeast to mine coal and then take the coal to London. And it was one of those colliers that was converted for James Cook to then go around the world, which he did, four times?
Three big trips anyway, yeah.
Before he was killed. So that's Captain James Cook. And Whitby it's worthy of a whole story in its own right, because it was in the age of Enlightenment, a lot of that was focused on Whitby with science and astronomy and so on. So it's a fascinating town, is Whitby.
Now, I think I told you in the tech check who sent this image.
Yeah, they'll come down all the way from Yale, I should think, from Graham Sweet.
Graham, once he saw that you were on, he sent that and said, ask him to talk about this. Something about, what? There was another issue. Vampires or Draculas or...
Yeah, well, Bram Stoker, the author, wrote all the Dracula books based on Whitby, and Bram Stoker would, out of Whitby Abbey, which is the other side of the River Esk. Yorkshire's only salmon river is the River Esk, but Whitby lies east and west, not north and south. It's sort of twisted around. And on the other side of the river is where Whitby Abbey is located, and that's where Bram Stoker wrote all his books about Dracula, Count Dracula.
Literature Illustrated, Julia.
Oh, yes.
Now, let's get on to this conference. Thanks for all that. I don't know if the rest of the Fosey enjoyed that.
Be sure to read the comments.
I just find it fascinating to learn more about all of our Fosey and learn where they're from in different parts of the world, different clubs, particularly yacht clubs. But let's...
God forbid so, Tom. Is everybody hearing me twice still, or is it okay now?
I think the audio's okay. The audio sync is not perfect, but everybody's, we'd rather have good audio than echoey audio that's in sync, or sort of in sync.
Yeah, well, they say video killed the radio star.
Did the local natives inspire Stoker to imagine Dracula? Audio, John Emmett says, is perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Sound is perfect. Al, yeah, no, it's okay. Sound is good. Okay, I made a subsequent adjustment too, but in any event, we're on, hopefully on the road to good audio here for the rest of the show. Now let's talk about, good thing we got it sorted, so you can talk about the first World Foiling Congress last week in Genoa. It sounds like it was quite a successful deal.
Yeah, it was. I have to say that it was a proud moment to have an association with the creation of that. Friend of sailing, an absolute leader in the world of anything to do with foiling, but a very good sailor in his own right is Luca Rizzotti. He's a man from Milan, and Luca had a vision which he created a dozen years or so ago to create Foiling Week. But Foiling Week came out of putting together everything that was happening in the world of foiling, and not quite the culmination. Well, I suppose it is a culmination, but there's a long part of a journey still to go with everything to do with foiling. But Luca created We Are Foiling as a brand, the Foiling Week in itself, now the Foiling Congress, the Foiling Awards, which I think we're in the 7th year this year, and a whole organisation, the Foiling Organisation, which people are becoming members of. I think we're probably over 50 members now, and recruiting like Billy O. So Luca put together in Genoa, which talking about St. George, the emblem of Genoa is St. George, San Giorgio, with the same white background with the red cross on it. So there's a long history between Genoa and England. And in fact, not just last week, but the week before, Luca and I were guests at a Future of Shipping conference in Genoa, where the Lord Mayor of London was in attendance. In fact, he's got an Italian name, Michael Mainelli. But he was there celebrating the long history between the two great maritime cities of Genoa and London. And then last week and he came to the new premises where the Foiling Organisation is based. The city and the port of Genoa have allocated significant space for the Foiling Organisation, and that's to be the hub of everything around the world for anybody who's innovating and looking at it from a sporting perspective, from a commercial perspective. You know, people like Artemis Technologies, for instance. David Tyler was there talking about what's happening on the commercial side of foiling, as well as on the sporting side of it. So just a fabulous event, Tom and Julia, with, I think during the day, there were probably about 150 delegates in the room. And in the awards on that night, there were the room swelled to getting on for 200 people. It was fabulous.
Great.
So you chaired a panel of some significance, importance, I hear.
Yeah, one of the there are a number of us who are on the board of the Foiling Organisation, and Luca's divvying out jobs for us to do. And one of them was for me to moderate a panel here. And on there's in the middle, at the end, there's Kelly Covington, who has done a huge amount of work in sustainability in the sport and industry of sailing. Currently doing a lot of work with Orient Express in Barcelona, and so she's based in Barcelona currently, but living at home from Lorient, a Brit married to a great French guy. Next to her is Omar Fauchier. Omar is the VP of Sustainability, Innovation, and Research for the Group Beneteau, which is one massive boat building business. I think it's over 8,000 employees in all of its different elements. And then just to my left there is John Shihata, who is an international lawyer dealing a lot in sport, including being the personal lawyer to a very well-known world champion and America's Cup sailor. But I'm not sure I'm at liberty to mention that guy's name. But anyway, John's was there talking about change of legislation to do with greenwashing. You know, there are a lot of people, as we know, who are starting to hitch their trailer to the whole thing about trying to make claims of how green they are or how sustainable they are. Well, there's legislation across Europe coming through which is challenging that, where people can only make claims if they stand up to scrutiny. So it was interesting to listen to him debunking some of the claims that some people put forward, but also explaining how that's going to work going forward.
Mm.
And Persico was there. Stingray's asking, is Persico close to Genoa? It's not really. It's up closer to Milano, I believe. But
yeah, it's on Persico. They've got 2 or 3 plants actually. They've got one on the coast, not far from Genoa. But then they're north of Bergamo, in a place called Nambro, which is where Persico Marine are mainly based. And that's Mark Somerville in the middle there, who is the pretty much he runs the Persico Marine division. So they're a fabulous boat builder. I think they've got a lot on. They're successful. They make boats to a very high standard, including they've just built yet another America's Cup boat for you know who. So.
No, I do, you do, Julia does, but LRPP to be specific. No secret. I mean, when the boat was shipped down to Cagliari, they're having some problems this week too. One hears.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They were, in fact, Marcel Persico and others from Persico were very much at the launch event of that boat for Prada Pirelli. So yeah, brilliant.
You had some a big crowd, big audience, and some esteemed, even younger guys there taking it all in, and sometime on the panels.
Yeah, there were people from across the industry. Really, there were everything. There were lots of sailors, but lots of engineers, lawyers, of course, insurers. Because of course we move into a new era where the risks are different. Somebody has to assess those. Somebody has to see whether they're going to give cover. They've got to look to see what things are going to survive and things are going to fall apart, where risk is going to be brought into play. So yeah, it requires, and it's an industry, part of the industry which is immature, it's nascent. So it needs to have a congregation of people coming together in a congress to be able to see what things where the developments are, what the challenges are, what the opportunities are. And that's very much what the Pointing Organisation is set out to do. And it was just a fabulous first Congress. We can see that it was just a one-day event this time over, though the plan is for it to extend much beyond that in due course.
Now, we'll go to comments. We get a lot of questions, no doubt, but Andrew McIrvin has joined, and he says, and today is St. George's Day, as well as Will Shakespeare's birth and death day. Andrew, it's also English Muffin Day, English Language Day. Bloody hell. The Brits are ruling for some reason April 23rd. Is that the date today? April 23rd. Gordon Smith is saying that the Lord Mayor of the City of London, as opposed to the Mayor of Greater London, the City of London is the financial trading center in a separate city. The old bit, if you like. Yeah, we got that. It's all Richard the Lionheart's fault. Andrew McIrvin is also saying, Mr. Doctor. Andrew, how's your back, Andrew? Give us a quick comment down there. We're all cheering you on. I hear he's good. We think we've got Andrew coming to the Stag Cruise.
Oh,
he's confirmed to John McNeil, Commodore McNeil, and myself
great.
here in the last couple of days. And he is, I've asked him if he would give...
You tell him which Andrew.
Andrew McIrvin.
Yeah.
And actually, we should get Pindar to the Stag Cruise as well, if not this year, in future. But I've asked our Fozy Andrew McIrvin we've never had it's keynote's the wrong word, but it's kind of morphing into that, to give an address to the whole group assembled early on in the 4 days, a bit of a serious thing, not just a relaxed lighthouse talk on some topic that may or may not be related to yacht racing, but with 500 give or take gentlemen assembled from across not just the U.S., but across the world. We get commodores of various esteemed yacht clubs at the Stag Cruise every September, St. Francis Yacht Club. But Andrew is coming. I hope he's going to make it after his back surgery and all of his other responsibilities with the IMA, to give a bit of a keynote. So we're looking forward to it. And he is saying, and looking forward to Tinsley. He's doing very well, thanks. So that's great to hear. Any other comments on the Foiling Congress? What's the bottom line? This is a huge success, the first one. Does this happen every year going forward? Does it always take place in Genoa? What's the plan?
Well, it always has done so far, because it's been one event. So it's 100% record so far. I'm trying to get it to come to Yorkshire next year. That was an opportunity.
Julia, we've got our coffees here, but we don't really have anything in the coffee other than coffee ice. A little.
No, but I'm pretty certain the intention will be to remain in Genoa as the centre of. There's so much there that's already at hand that with costs already covered. The city that's very welcoming to boat building, to shipbuilding, to the evolution of all the technologies to do with the future use of the sea. It's a city where the ocean race completed its journey around the world last year. It's got a lot that it's putting into its maritime history, but more importantly to its maritime future. So I think we'll see a longer conference, a longer congress next year. Watch this space for when it's going to be announced, but you're sure going to be hearing about it from me, because I'll be proudly pushing it forward for everybody's attention.
Were there any great surprises to you from that gathering?
Probably I hadn't quite realized how big the foiling sector of the world of sailing and shipping is becoming. So I think that's, for me, it made me realize that I've got to pay attention to that. And so on the back of that, then I made sure that our business is signing up as a member of the foiling organization. But it's also on the back of, I don't know if many of the FOSIs will be aware, that at the Marine Equipment Trade Show last November at the RAI in Amsterdam, for the first time there was a whole foiling pavilion. We're seeing that again at the RAI in November. I think it's the 18th or 19th or something like that this year. So there's a whole section of that massive trade show, Mets Trade, that's given over to foiling. So the genie's out of the bottle with this one, and I think that it's going to pay us all dividends to watch where the world of foiling is going, because it's a reality. It's beyond just people kicking the tires on something.
Okay, well, let's get into a couple of questions for Andrew. But before, I just wanted you to recognize, Andrew, you see the color of Julia's dress and scarf today? She coordinated that to today's cover slide. To your purple and blue, and that blue jacket you wore. Where'd you get that? You look like an NBA commentator here in the U.S. That's it's a great image. I love that. Yep. Whoever put that graphic together did a good job. Yeah. And our graphics department, Andrew.
I've got a trained graphic artist based in the Bay Area.
Yeah, famous graphic artist.
Yes.
Well, interesting stuff. Nobody can accuse us now of being anti-foiling on Sailing Illustrated, Julia, after we've run a segment like this with Andrew. But tell me, what's going on with the America's Cup? Andrew, what's going on with the foiling? What are the Persico guys saying about Luna Rossa Prata Pirelli and foiling in general? There must have been a lot of goss, as you and the Commonwealth would say, about the America's Cup and what's going on.
Yeah, is it in direct or inverse proportion? The amount of secrecy that goes around everything to do with the cup means that people gossip twice as much, or
yes,
is it designed that way? And it's funny, isn't it? Considering that if you look across the teams, I know there's the nationality rules that apply to the crews, but and other factors, but they are so international. You see people who are popping up all over the place, and you think, how are they sailing for the Swiss or for the Italians or the French? And so it goes on. So it seems to me as though, and I've been to Barcelona, I think 3 times. I was there 2 weeks ago for the last time, and I'm going again very soon. There's a real buzz going on in Barcelona at the minute. People are realizing that the clock is ticking and clicking very quickly. So I think there's people are looking forward to the event. The people of Barcelona seem to be really excited by it, and I've got colleagues who are living in Barcelona for the duration of the Cup, including a female colleague who's actually she's Bolivian, but she's Spanish, and she said that all the talk in the supermarket, at the hairdressers, of whatever it may be, is the Spanish women of Barcelona are really interested in the Women's America's Cup event. So I think that watch this space, hopefully the youth, but certainly I think the women's event is going to get an awful lot of attention.
Well, I think you're right. The youth event has been run before, and that was run here in San Francisco. I think the first one was here in 2013 in San Francisco. But I agree. I think the women's event is going to get a lot of ink. For example, we know that David and Christian Price's daughter Olivia, and that crew from Australia is getting a lot of ink in Australia, where they don't otherwise. They have a lot of America's Cup sailors, but they don't have an America's Cup team entry, and haven't since where? I guess San Diego, the last America's Cup entry from Australia in '95. Is that right? Has there been?
Has that been like?
It's been. Okay, to the questions. Ted Ryman, only Ryman would come up with this. He says it's also National Lovers Day. Where is it? Probably in South Africa. Alistair Murray says, I'm glad it's too early to be drinking here where it's Wednesday morning in Australia. You guys are setting a hell of a Yorkshire pace. Jody Shields, I'd like to thank Andrew for being naming rights sponsor of Sail GP on the dock. So you must have taken that up. What do you think of that?
That's news to me.
Jody, I hope that gets continued. I hope Russell continues that, and that means moving those guys around from event to event, which I hope they do. I think it adds a lot to it. I hope you all agree. I know most of our FOSI were switching back and forth between the audio and the video of the regular TV video, and then the audio coming not from the TV, but from Jody and his crew.
Yes.
Okay, so here is the big question Stingray asks for Pindar. Who at GAC forgot to pack the rudder for Ineos? We haven't seen a rudder yet on that boat, Andrew. Is there a rudder?
One of the great things about being involved with some of the Cup teams is that we're signed to all levels of NDAs that people like you put in place on us, Tom. So my lips are sealed on that one.
And there's a follow-up question from Stingray down there at the bottom. He says, does Team Ineos strike Andrew as being rudderless so far? There is, admittedly, you're not going to say anything, and I won't ask you to say anything, but there's a lot of angst coming out of people who went in, especially on the design side briefly, and then came out and said, this thing is a bit of a fustercluck on the design side. I hope it's not true. I hope Sir Ben and his team come good and come strong, and we won't know till the boats get splashed and go racing in anger. But any insight into the Brits before we ask you about whether the Kiwis are going to ship or fly?
I'd say that, well, this is not me offering platitudes. I'd say that all the teams have entered this with great serious intent, and I've watched one or two of the teams more closely than others for commercial reasons, but they look as though they've been doing a great job, and I've got no idea how they can really tell by looking at something not in the water and not with sails up how it's going to perform. It's I think it's speculation at this point.
I think, Julia.
Yes.
Andrew has just received a nomination to be the next Secretary General of the United Nations.
Indeed.
For his diplomacy.
Yes.
Young Australia in 2000, Steve Gruber is saying. McIrvin likes your question that you asked. He did a great job, Julia. That was a good question. Not forgetting Ted Ryman saying the all-female crew on Maiden have just won the Globe Race.
Ocean
Globe Race, indeed. Julie, you were going to say something.
Somebody said before that not forgetting the all-female crew on Maiden.
Yeah, well, that's what we just read,
right.
that comment.
Right.
Does not helmed by telepathy reply any other? Is Yorkshire, Stingray's wanting to know, Yorkshire trying to get out of the whole reputation for drag? What's that mean?
Well, yeah.
What does that mean? Oh, you say he took a drink. What's your reputation for drag in Yorkshire?
No idea.
I don't either. Is
Something
that like drags as in drag queens? What does that mean? Stingray. Okay,
we don't know.
We're an hour.
Well, we did in people like Dan LaRue and one or two others were drag queens, 45 years ago. But I don't know what he's referring to really.
Okay. Well, since we can't get you to answer any questions about the America's Cup, let's go to our America's Cup segment here. And an AC-37 Cup date where the Brit boat, which Andrew's team was responsible for helping to transport from the build site in the UK. Where did it go, Andrew? It went to
Weston.
Well, but it went to, where did it ship from finally in the UK?
Oh, I've forgotten. It was Southampton or
was it Portsmouth?
I think we're more likely Southampton.
Southampton, and then it was shipped across to the northern coast of Spain, and then trucked across. It was quite a deal, right? And then trucked down to Barcelona.
Yeah.
Are you responsible for the French team trying to get around the Pyrenees and get to Barcelona?
We do work for the French, but we didn't take responsibility for the movements of their boats from northern France. They did that directly themselves. So I don't know.
Okay, well, let's have a look at the video of the reveal of the British boat. In Barcelona, obviously, without Stingray's rudder. And without foils. Foil arms, but I don't think it had any foils on it. Andrew's asking Andrew McIrvin why this is in the dark. Well, this was done at dark 30, like 05:30 in the morning. They wheeled it out, and they're wasting no time. I admire this effort. Got it out. This was what, 3-4 days ago? Got it out early in the morning, got the rig in, did load testing, and they started at dark 30. Ted Ryman says, fabulous boat. That cup is coming back to the UK.
Aha.
Jody is saying they have the lower part of the control arm covered up, must have trim tabs on the foil control arms.
Mm-hmm. That's probably true, because they talked about that.
Yeah. Gordon Smith says, I think these hull reveals are going to be the least interesting part of this event and also the least informative. I agree. We saw the reveal of Alinghi the other night. Last Friday? Was that now a week ago Friday?
Yeah.
And, they did it in the dark, couldn't really see what was going on until they wheeled it out and splashed it. And they've been towing around. I guess they've also sailed. They sailed, I think, last Friday, both Alinghi and Luterosa Pradaprelli both sailed. The Kiwis have been sailing. See, no rudder there. But until we see some really close-up video and start to see some of the finer aspects, the nuances of these boats, we won't know for sure.
It's going to be quite different water than they've sailed in before, too.
Well, we'll soon see. Andrew, anything else to shed on? Any light to shed on any of these boats? Ed Worley saying very nice paint job. Julie Aarons is saying dream on. She thinks the Kiwis have got this in the bag. I wouldn't count out Alinghi. I wouldn't even count out American Magic. We're going to look at their latest video in a moment. Andrew?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure who it was that that said it. Maybe a number of people have commented, but these paint jobs, are they done for aesthetic reasons, or are they a very good way of masking what's really going on? Because it's one of those optical illusions where you can't really see what's truly in front of your eyes. And I do wonder whether that's part of that whole the whole concept behind this artwork presentation.
No doubt. Camouflage painting, and we have Claire Harrington, Vice Commodore Claire Harrington, New York Yacht Club is on as usual. She's been a regular watching. Delighted to have her with us. She's putting pressure on me to rejoin New York. I resigned during the pandemic, figured I'm never going to go back to New York, and why, save the money. I'd been a member since 1981. And she says, I'm going to be Commodore. I want you as a member. Get your butt back here. She put it much more politely than that, but I think I may well do that. And to support her, too, I'm delighted New York's now going to have a female Commodore. Before we go to the New York video, which I've got their April report from Terry Hutchinson from T. Hutch, what's going on with the Magenta Project? You're famously involved with that and have helped push that women's promotional program forward.
Well, I'm early days because we're talking to all the America's Cup teams, but one of the first out of the block to be supportive of us holding a Magenta Project event within their premises. Hopefully Claire's aware of it. But
at New York in Barcelona at their team base?
In Barcelona, yeah.
Nice.
We've got a great welcome for Magenta from the Foundation Barcelona Capital Nautica, which is an important part of the running of anything to do with sailing and the future and the legacy in particular of this cup cycle in Barcelona. Our friends at the museum, the Maritime Museum, are super welcoming of Magenta, and we have yet to get pushback from any of the teams. So we're looking forward to really helping showcase the potential of women at the pinnacle of sailing through our links to these teams and to the legacy programs of Barcelona. So thanks for asking that question, Tom.
So that's your next big push, really, is the Women's America's Cup in Barcelona. That is the Magenta Project.
We can't associate ourselves directly with that.
Right.
That's something that the people at ACE control. We've got no say over that.
ACE being America's Cup Events, being the organizing authority.
Hopefully they may reach out to us and welcome us, but at the moment the welcome is coming from the teams and from the city and the port and so on. So we'll if we're made welcome, we will go where we're welcome, and at the moment the welcome is very much an open door.
Well, great. Now, Vice Commodore Harrington, Claire Harrington, who's again has become a FOSI. She is christening. She has been nominated to christen the yacht in due course. She's headed if she's maybe even in Barcelona now, I'm not sure, but headed there shortly to commission to christen the boat in due course.
The christening of American Magic, I think it's on the 10th of May.
10th of May. Okay, there's breaking news. Look at that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not supposed to tell anybody that. So.
It's just us.
Okay, we won't publicize that.
Well, nobody heard me.
No, but I'm sure nobody heard you. Gordon Smith said that his apropos camouflage, that his grandmother helped design the camouflage to hide the Rolls-Royce Merlin factory in Derby during the Second War. It seems the German bombers hit Scarborough instead. Okay, let's watch the American Magic video. That's the tail end of the Brit video, but now they're doing these great monthly reports. I really like the style and this form of communication. It's short and sharp, coming each month from Terry Hutchinson and the gang at New York Yacht Club's American Magic.
Here we are in the American Magic Gym at the beginning of April 2024. This month's focus primarily is really two-boat in-house AC40 racing and the fit-out of Boat 3. And a couple of those things are really exciting. You know, Boat 3 arrived here on March 26th, was delivered from TF Green from our boat building facility in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, where the team over the last 15 months has done an incredible job at manufacturing the third AC75 that we've built. And as a team, it's just a great milestone because of the work and the effort and everything that goes into the production of that boat. So she's in the shed here. She'll continue for really the next 5 weeks of fit out, getting us to a spot where in early May, on a date to be determined, that will get the boat out, get into the structural testing under the watchful eye of Kurt Jordan and Scott Ferguson. And then later in the month of May, we'll make a decision on when we're gonna put the rig in and crack the bottle and put her in the water and go for a sail. But it's still a little bit too early to lock that exact date in. The AC40 sailing's going really well. We had a great 2-week session following the sail development that we did. And really that's on the front side of our racing development. And so the month of April is primarily focused on the racing development. And it's quite exciting because we have, you know, again, we have the whole month in front of us to go racing. That coupled with the work that's being done in the American Magic simulator. You know, when we're not on the water with the AC40s, we're in the sim, working on the items that we're learning really on the water and on the racing development side of it. So there's a lot happening. It's awesome to see not only Boat 3 here, but also the AC40s going full gangbusters. Earlier in the month of March, and you know, we got Patriot, Boat 2, up in Badalona, and she's in storage and really is going to be there for the rest of the program. And then from there, we have to determine what we're going to do with her and whether she sees the light of day again or goes for a sail on Pensacola Bay or Narragansett Bay. But you know, that will be to be determined. And right now, the rest of this month is going to be focused on Boat 3 fit out and racing.
Okay, I've had that video for a couple weeks. They did produce it earlier in April, and I've just been waiting for the right moment. And I think that was a good moment. I agree with you. I think the Women's America's Cup project is going to be great, Andrew, for the sport. And I'm seeing here the comment from Julie. You see the comment from David
Right.
Price, who's also had some health challenges. I hope you're doing well, David. Last I talked to you, texted with you, you were. And David and Christiane are all booked in for the Women's AC Go Team Australia Challenge 2024, including Olivia Price, their daughter, of Olympian. And she's also doing an Olympic campaign, isn't she? Last I knew, Olivia Price was also doing a 49er campaign.
Is she?
I think. You know, Andrew?
I don't know.
Okay. The first edition boats are already museum pieces. I do like the color of those boats. Moby Dick, meaning, I guess, the white one. Okay, enough of that. I had the honor, Blake Middleton is saying, one last comment about New York Yacht Club's team. I had the honor of having Scott Ferguson, University of Michigan, clean my clock in most college regattas, along with his 4-time All-American teammate, Doug Weffer. I had the honor of coaching Scott Ferguson on a hockey team. Speaking of St. George's, at St. George's School, the prep school in Middletown in Newport, Rhode Island, I coached Scotty Ferguson, whose parents were good friends of ours, and his younger brother, too. In hockey, he's a hell of a good hockey player. In fact, I helped get him into the University of Michigan. I called the hockey coach, and the hockey coach helped get him in. He walked on, made the hockey team, Scott Ferguson, played for a little bit, and then they had a bad, Scott was not involved, but there was a bad hazing incident, and they tied some kid up to a tree in freezing weather, and he'd been poured full of alcohol, and the kid almost died. Scott said, this hockey stuff is not for me. I'm going to focus on school, getting good grades. He was in the Naval Architecture program at Michigan. So he got into Michigan because of hockey, arguably. And then he got out of Michigan after being a 3 or 4-time All-American, 4-year All-American sailor, getting a naval architecture degree, and is now the design chief for American Magic. There is a litany about a cool kid.
We have several confirmations that Olivia Price is doing the Olympics.
Good. David Price, indeed, is doing that. Alistair Murray is the president of Australian Sailing. Yes, Olivia also doing the Olympics. Good news. Alistair, I have an idea. We like to do Road to the Governor's Cup. We pick up on that in just about now, running through the Gov Cup down at Balboa Yacht Club in the end of July. Why don't we do a bit of a, nothing too formal, a Road to the America's Cup, the Women's America's Cup, rather than a road to, let's do a Road to the Women's America's Cup. Work with with Andrew, the Magenta Project, and let's feature that Aussie team, since we know them, to start. And then I'm sure Claire will help us with the New York Yacht Club team and others.
Yeah.
Should we do that, Julia?
Why not?
Andrew, should we do that?
Absolutely, we should do. And I should just mention about the Magenta Project. We just had, just around the corner from John Emmett, this last weekend in Portland and Weymouth, there was a whole Magenta clinic on sailing on the Wasps, and there were, I'm trying to remember the number of women sailors that were there, but there was a whole bunch of great young talented female sailors, supported by some male allies who are helping in the coaching of them. But people like Jazz Booth and I'm trying to think who else was there. But anyway, there was a whole crowd of them, and Vicky Lowe, from one of the board members of one of the founders of the Magenta Project, was there. Vicky's also at the World Sailing Trust. So there's a lot going on worldwide with the advancements of women in sailing, and thank goodness that those women who came off the SCA boat in the Volvo Ocean Race had the imagination to create the Magenta Project.
Who else is on your Magenta board?
Well, actually, Luca Rizzotti was. He's just stood down after 3 years. Soco Nuna de Celes, who's she's Spanish, but she's been living in the UK for the last 10 or 12 years. She's from Alicante. She's a very good sailor, though she's a professional business person, an international marketing VP. Bernard Schopfer from Maxcom. You'll know Bernard from Alinghi.
Yes.
And let's think, Anushka Souza, who's a captain with Qatar Airlines. Who else have we got on the? John Quill Hackenberg is the current chair. They're coming towards the end of her term. Our executive director is Meg Riley. You might well know of Meg. She's been involved with the Heineken Regatta and various other things.
Yeah, know of her for sure.
Yeah, I mean, she's great. So I should be able to rattle off the other names, but
you're doing very well.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Julia, let's put our heads together.
Holly Cover from Militia, from Boris Herman's project. But she just had a baby, so a little baby girl called Nova. So congratulations to Holly Cover and her partner and her little baby girl.
Okay. Well, let's put our heads together, Julia, and work on a little bit of a project.
Yes.
And do not quite Road to the Governor's Cup, but Road to the. What do you know the dates? The Women's America's Cup is actually after the Youth America's Cup, and it's
like the first to the 2nd to the 12th of October, or something like that.
Yeah, it's later, and it's almost concurrent with the America's Cup itself, I think, or right close to the up against.
There's a lot of stuff. When I'm booking my accommodation, I booked a bunch of it for 10 days worth of across the women's period at the minute. But then leading up to that, I think from the 27th of September or thereabouts through to the 7th of October, and then we're coming in from the Louis Vuitton on into to the women's event. So, anyways, I'm sure we can publish for everybody on Friday. I know you can find it online. The schedule of the
I
event.
know. I've got the schedule, and I've run it on the show at various times. The kind of consolidated scheduling.
Right.
Julia,
I was going to say there's a pretty good one paragraph consolidation.
Yeah, we have a graphic too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Julia, do you have any magenta clothes?
Of course.
Well, you're gonna have to get us. We're gonna have to all get in magenta to celebrate the Magenta Project. I'm serious.
I do.
Okay, Andrew, don't go away because we've got the Foiling Congress behind us, but we have today, this day in history, 23rd of April, 1516, picking up where we started off this show, celebrating Jody Shields. Do you know anybody? He's drinking, even though we haven't said Yorkshire.
Yorkshire.
They've all switched to cheesecake and other things. Stopped drinking because we've been. What happened, Julia, on this day in history, 23rd of April, 1516? Here is your first clue. You speak German, or you used to. Your husband did.
Mm-hmm. I can't read it.
Okay, here's your second clue.
Aha. Oh, yes.
I'm sure you recognize him.
Oh, yes. He's my best friend.
Where's Mario Schumann, Herr Schumann, our
yeah.
good mutual friend at St. Francis, who is from Munich?
Mm-hmm.
That is Duke Wilhelm IV of Bavaria,
Aha.
who lived in Germany-ish from 1493 to 1550. We've talked about this before on this show, and this is the German beer purity law. This was a revolutionary thing that this Duke did, and he put it forward in 1516. Duke Wilhelm IV of Bavaria endorsed the German beer purity law. Somebody said at the top of the show they knew this was Reinheitsgebot Day, and adds to its standards for the sale of beer in Bavaria, and ensuring that beer is only brewed from 3 ingredients: water, malt, and hops.
Yes. That's still the rule.
That's still, what's Andrew? He's looking at his phone.
I'm just sending you messages. I'm sending you messages, Tom.
Uh-oh. I'm not checking them. I've got everything I can do here as a one-arm paper hanger, doing the audio and switching the show and trying to get your AV sync.
I'm being a graphic artist at the same time.
I'll look at your message here in a second. That's what happened today. German beer purity law was endorsed by I guess he was the Grand Duke. Okay, that gets us to the last leg for today's show. And just to take you, can you stay, Andrew? Do you have to dash off? What time is it there in London? 22:48? It's only just a quick last segment here.
Tom, just to help everybody who wants a drink, Tom, I'm not in London. I'm in Yorkshire.
He's in Yorkshire. And we're on the last leg and talking about what is a lot of fun when you get to the finish down in Ensenada. The Newport Ensenada race, the 76th annual, I think last year was the 75th, the Newport Ensenada International Yacht Race. They think of themselves as the largest international yacht race in this country. I'm not quite sure that's true. Newport Bermuda race would qualify as a big one. This race used to have more entries than Newport Bermuda. Now they're maybe about the same. But nonetheless, over the now many years, they've had tens of thousands of participants, entries in this race. It's a bit of a deal. This year, starting this weekend, in fact, down in Newport Beach, is the 76th annual Newport to Ensenada, which is a beautiful town just down 25 miles down into Mexico, maybe a bit further. It's a 125 nautical mile race total. Newcomers and veterans, their PR headline said a couple days ago, make the venerable N2E as we know it. I've sailed this race a number of times with my besties on It's Okay, but it is a sailing institution in this country, indeed, especially here on the West Coast. The 76th edition will depart from its multi-starting line on April 26th. That is this Friday. A multitude of racers and 145 boats have entered. That keeps N2E a Southern California yacht racing favorite. It's just an overnight race, basically. We'll take the 125 nautical mile course bound for the Hotel Corral and Marina down in Ensenada, and it ends there, and it's a massive party. And
that is both a total party race and also total serious, right?
well, it is, and they have expanded it over the years. Our Fozy John Sangmeister is vice president of NOSA, the organization that runs it. Newport Ocean Sailing Association, I think, is what NOSA stands for. And you can see the tactics. The strategy is interesting because you can go on the inside course, and you have to. It's usually not the way to go because there's usually not as much breeze, and you got to avoid the kelp there at San Diego. But sometimes, especially if you've got for some reason an easterly, which generally you don't, sometimes the rumline course is best. Normally, the outside course is the best of the three. But you start in the afternoon on Friday. We finished as early as Friday midnight once in a lot of breeze, going down in the 50-footer. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Starts in Newport Beach. There is a shorter course for boats that don't want to go through the rigmarole at the border and then crossing back when you bring the boat back, although the U.S. and Mexican authorities the Coast Guard have this down to a science. So you can sail the shorter course that finishes in San Diego. And a number of teams will do that, but most everybody sails to the big party down in Ensenada.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great time had by all. This is a 9-year history now, I think it is. Here's the video from last year. It'll be a good one. It looks like there's going to be breeze on, at least later on in the afternoon Friday, for sure. It usually starts a little lightish at noon on Friday, but it looks like breeze on, and maybe breeze from the north. So
that'd be good.
From the west in the north. So good stuff. The N2E, as they call it. And by the way, talking about John Sangmeister, our Fozy John Sangmeister, who owns the Andrews 68 Rock and Roll. This was a shot, I think, Sharon Green shot. I believe this is from the Transpac race a year or two ago. Our Super Fozy John Sangmeister, he will be speaking Thursday at the Newport Harbor Yacht Club, the Yachtsman's Luncheon, giving a preview. He is, as I said, one of the vice commodores or vice presidents of NOSA, and he'll be giving a preview of this race. For those of you in SoCal that want to go, it's open to visiting yachtsmen at the beautiful Newport Harbor Yacht Club. Mm-hmm. They ran the Baldwin Cup, the big team racing event this past weekend. This is their now 2 or 3 year old clubhouse after the other one was sinking. No, it wasn't a fire. It was just literally sinking, and the water was coming in on the ground floors, and they tied up a big party boat off the front of the club for a couple of years, rebuilt the club, raised the parking lot there in the back, raised the dinghy park over there on the right, and they have a beautiful new clubhouse.
They do.
It's a fabulous club, Newport Harbor Yacht Club. We always talk about Balboa Yacht Club. This is their station out at Catalina, White's Cove, and the esteemed Newport Harbor Yacht Club. And that is a bit of a preview for this race coming up this weekend. It's not exactly the Fastnet race. It's not the Sydney Hobart. It's not the Bermuda race. But in terms of what our sport does, what our run-of-the-mill average club racer, the kind of racing that John Emmett celebrated in his report today at the top of the show. I mean, this is what 90 or 95% of us do. But it sure is fun to hear from Andrew about the cutting edge of foiling.
Yes.
The cutting edge of the America's Cup, Andrew.
But Tom, it comes back to also just there with John Sangmeister and thinking of him and involved with the Ensenada race. But of course, he's been deeply involved with the Con Cup and over many years, and he's been a personal supporter of Ian Williams. I think he must have spotted, perhaps like I was lucky enough to do, Ian's talent early on, and always made Ian and his crew very welcome in his home and his restaurant and so on, and would support him in many different ways, often without claiming any association. So I think it's important to remember that whether we're foiling or whether we're on old and slow, the fundamental is about the people who make this sport happen, and John Sangmeister is very much one of those.
Absolutely.
Well said. And in fact, as you know, Ian's team is all staying there this week for Gov Cup. He also, as did we, but he helped push through this idea that Ian, as the current world champion, having won the WMRT Worlds last December in Shenzhen in China, that he should automatically get a berth into Gov Cup, into Congressional Cup this year, and with some little bit of pressure from John and others.
Yeah.
The Long Beach Yacht Club Organizing Committee Congressional Cup Committee did wisely amend their rules to allow Ian in without him having to qualify through the bloody Ficker Cup. So that's good stuff. And good decision by Long Beach. It's going to be a terrific event. Andrew, it's been great to have you on the show with us. We really appreciate it. And we hope you'll come back sooner than later and help celebrate not only Scarborough and all these foiling and the Magenta Project, but also Yorkshire.
And read
but Tom, I'm worried about you. There seems to be no mention of people who sail or don't sail who may be in charge of sailing associations.
I'm going to get to that actually, in just a moment.
Going off from all parts of the world of people wanting to make sure that you'd at least want to mention it, because they're clearly
they're going to have one final gulp when I mention the non-sailing CEO. I'm going to go here to I got to show you this, Julia. Pindar's been texting me through this whole thing. I finally got to look at him, look at them. These are slides, if I remember well, from this was, James Pleasance was here, you were here. In fact, Alistair Murray is saying he's looking forward to meeting you this summer. Apparently he's coming up to Europe and you all have a plan for a dinner. But this is here in San Francisco. What was this, the Brute Cup or something, this match race?
Allianz.
Oh, there it is, on the the Allianz. Did Larry sail in that event?
Yeah, Larry Ellison was sailing, and he was there doing the interview with everybody. The same with Dicko. Scott said, was it Chris or Scott?
It was Scott.
Chris Ainsley was there.
Yeah.
Peter Holmberg.
Yeah. And I was doing television, we weren't streaming that. I was doing, I guess, live commentary up on the roof up on the race deck of St. Francis, and then emceed the press conference. And you're right, Larry was just there like one of the guys.
Yep,
absolutely.
It was a terrific, and that's where we first met, was it? What year was that?
20 years ago, 19 or 20 years ago.
Oh, man. Bloody hell. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I'm glad we got the audio sorted out. Julia?
Lovely to have him here. And please read the comments. You'll love them.
Indeed. Okay. Thank you again, Andrew. We'll see you soon. We'll talk soon.
Bye, Julia. Bye, Tom.
Bye.
Much appreciated. As everybody is saying in the comments as well. Cut to video so AP can go to his wine cave and restock, as Peter Taylor is saying. Ian should be the headline entrant to the Congressional Cup. It is rather disrespectful to do otherwise. Well, Gordon, I think he will be. I think the problem with making him the sole headline for Con Cup is that he is, he's also, they've got Scott Poole, who went undefeated last year for the first time, other than Bill Ficker winning, going undefeated during the rounds robin back in whenever he won it in the 70s, 74 from memory. But Scott Poole won every race, double round robin, semifinals, finals last year. And, you know, he's the defending champ of Con Cup, so he's certainly a defending champ as well. Julia, we're two.
There's my friend.
You're a friend. We are exactly at 2 hours into the show at 1500 and change here in San Francisco. And we have Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, a couple submissions from Andrew. Don't call me Andrew. Call him Dolly DeVola. That's his nickname. Her, she, did you buy another boat? Me. Which is the most appropriate response? A, we could have done a Fozy poll with this. It was an accident. B, I do not recall. C, you look pretty today. Or D,
you bet I did.
Which is it, Julia?
All of the above.
Yeah, I think it's all of the above. Fritz Mueller's going, what about the non-sailing CEO? Coming to that, Peter, but you know, I'm putting it right here at the bitter end to keep you. Thank you, Andrew, for that one. Andrew sent this one, too. You only talk about boats. You want to talk about, what do you want to talk about then? Talk to me about your feelings.
I really love boats.
I really love boats. Julia, I really love you and all of our Fozy and everybody who helps make this show possible. Thank you, Andrew Dolly DeVola, for sending that in.
Yes.
I'm sure this guy has a heart of gold, but there he is. This guy's got to go. There's no excuse like any of those two previous slides. That wasn't much of a segue, but the non-sailing CEO's got to go. One hears he is going sooner or later. So let's just hope it's sooner than later. Okay, are you all happy now? He's got to go. That gets us in well and truly to the finish line. And Julia, you like to say,
don't miss this opportunity to like, follow, and share. And this for this particular show for involving young sailors. And you'll see many times around the world.
And women sailors.
And women.
And everything else. Comments are welcome too, even in replay. And we hope to carry this forward with your help, because it's your support via Patreon, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, that gets you to become a patron if you're not already. Thank you for the many slides, videos, and the audio for today's show. Julia, final thoughts?
I was just thinking how much fun this is.
That means you don't want to stop Friday as our last show? No, we're not going to stop Friday.
No.
We'll carry on here as long as we both have the energy to do it. But thank you all. We do it for you and for people like Andrew and now James Pleasance, who we think is coming on Friday. If not, I'll try to tape a segment with him. He's down in Long Beach, the esteemed executive director of the World Match Racing Tour, and try to get him on for a report. Also, Scott Dixon, there's a possibility I'll get him in a report as well. He's, of course, racing, so it's going to be a little harder. But maybe he'll get his phone out and call us from out on the race course, as he is one of the three people who have matriculated Scott Dixon, having won Ficker Cup. He gets to go on to Con Cup, so bravo zulu to him. And to James Pleasance for the good opening series they had for Ficker, and now the WMRT Tour well and truly underway. We're out of here. We hope to see you on Friday, same time, same channel. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao.